And we're live, baby, for another episode of the In Your Face Show, episode 32. Yo, what's up, everybody? I'm here with my main man, a dear friend, somebody that's close to me, man. That came in the industry. He gave me my first, uh, first time, man. Thankful for it. My main man, Bill McCormick. What's up, my man?
Good morning, King Daniel. How are you this beautiful day?
I'm doing great, man. Went got to get some blood, had to do it. What's up with you, man?
Well, I'm not giving blood today. I just had some tuna fish, and. Um, no, man, I've just been busy. I've been just writing like a maniac. I got a novel that's being edited. I got another one I'm writing. I got stuff being shopped around for films. Got some comic books coming out, and it's like blah blah blah. Just busy, busy, busy.
Oh man, me too, man. I've been writing my I wanted to write a little bit about my second book, but that'll come up a little later. You know what I mean? But so tell us about what you got for us today.
Let's see. I sent you all the stuff that's actually out, so people can buy it, rather than just talking about like, hey, in my head, you can see this. This is real stuff.
Right, right.
The one you've got up in the corner right now is Savarchik. That's a primer, depending on where you live in the country. It's an introduction to the character. She's the tagline is it's a woman trapped inside a man, a god trapped inside a human. I wrote it because I used to mentor some transgender teens, different races, black, white, purple, green, yellow. But they were all kind of going through the same thing, and they didn't have a superhero. They didn't, everybody's got Superman, they got the Falcon, they got this, they got that. These kids didn't have anyone. So I wrote this and got an artist to do it, a lady named Marisa Mikkels. And she did this beautiful, like, liquid painting artwork. So it's very, very looks very, very different, very arty. And the kids loved it.
Right.
And it's got some really good reviews. And I'll tell you a really funny story. One lady, now, if you go to my website and buy it, it's $2 for the comic because it's a little primer. It's not a big comic. It's just $2. And
right.
whatever postage is. Back then it was $1. So this lady, I was out in the middle of nowhere, suburbs. She drove almost 2 hours. God knows how much gas she spent to drive to meet me, to get me to autograph a copy so she could give it to her transgender daughter, who, of course, she's a kid. She's like 15, 16. So she didn't appreciate that. And then about 2 weeks later, I get an email from the kid. I guess she looked me up online. I get an email from the kid. And it's like, it was the perfect email. You could tell her she's like 16 because like, oh my God. Oh, this is wonderful. I really like the story. Oh my God. But for her, it was the same thing. It's like, it's a story that resonated with her. And she loved it. So
I get what you say.
It's kind of what we do. It's like, sure, making money is nice and all that, but sometimes it's just nice to have somebody appreciate what you do. So.
Right. Man, it's funny the way you did that, man, because I see that all the time. Oh man, so tell us about this character. What made you get so connected to this character?
Well, like I said, I was mentoring some students at the South Chicago Public Library, and they were teenagers, and they were, without getting into their personal lives, they were transitioning. They were in 4 cases. They were transitioning from male to female. They were going to be women when they were done with the doctors and everything like that. They there was no superhero representing them. They were just kind of left to the side. There's a couple of characters in like Batwoman and different things like that. It's like, hi, this is a transgender character, but it doesn't really get into their lives. It's like they just wear the label on the forehead and they walk around and that's what they do. Kind of like how it used to be with black characters in the 40s. It's like, this guy's black. Look at him. And that was the end of it. You didn't know anything about him. He was there. And so I decided to write a character that these kids could, they could get into. And we wrote it. Part of it we wrote together. We went back and forth. I wanted to make sure I didn't insult them. I am not transgendered. I'm not a woman. And in the case of 3 of them, I'm not black. So I'm like none of the above. But I wanted to make sure that I was on the right path with them and that I was being respectful. And they really loved it. So I guess we got that right. And then, like I said, my friend with she's my friend now, but with her transgender daughter, she drove all that way just because her kid didn't have a superhero, and her daughter was going through this. So she goes out and she buys this book and brings it to her daughter. And sure, 2 weeks later, I got the 16-year-old eye roll email. But after that, the kid's been, she loved it. She's told her friends about it. She's very happy to have this in her life. And if you ever wonder why representation matters, that's why, because you need someone to look up to. You need someone to look and go, I can do this too. I can be this too. And, I'm never going to be Superman, but I remember growing up with Superman. I can be a good guy. I can make a change in the world. Those are the things that you need to get across. And so that's where we are. And so that's why I got into it. I really liked it. I'm actually, I'm slated in 2023 to do a big full story with this character. We're working on a couple of things to make that happen right now, but that would be just wonderful. It'd be a lot of fun to come back and revisit that character. There's a part of a script that's actually already written. It's just sitting on my hard drive going, do something with me. So I'd like to do it. It'd be fun. It'd be cool to do. It'd be cool to give the kids at the library too. It's like, here you go. Here's a big book of it. So.
Right. So, okay. So how many years have you been doing that particular character?
This character started in 2018. It was originally part of the Independent Creators Connection ICC anthology series, put together by Terrence Baker and a couple of other guys. And it was originally called the Ring series. And each superhero, in my case, she has fire. She's part of the Serbian fire god Savarchik. And so she had a fire ring, and then the next character had a water ring, and the next character earth ring. You get the idea, the 5 rings. Five rings. And we got like 3/4 of the way through doing that, and then 2 of the artists backed out. So it never got finished, but I didn't want to lose the character, so I had it printed myself, and I've been selling it myself. And Terrence had one of his characters, and he just backed out and printed it himself, and now he and I are the only 2 that are still standing. Everybody else went away. So.
Oh, okay. Man. So, okay. Damn. That's. I think that character that you're doing is very admirable. It's very cool that you're doing it because everybody needs something to look up to. You know what I mean?
Well, the thing is, when you do it, I write a lot of the stuff I write is funny. I mean, you wouldn't know that talking to me, but I have a sense of humor, and doing this character, I wanted her to have humor too, because I didn't want her to be like, look at me, I am this, blah, 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 blah. And I didn't want it to be very, I didn't want her to be a stagnant superhero where it's like, this is her, what she is more important than who she is. We didn't want that. I wanted it the other way around. I wanted who she is more important than what she is. And so for that, we had to put in some jokes. And the final line of the story, I won't give it away. You got to buy it. But the final line of the story, I remember one young lady when she was reading it, she read that. She looked up at me. She looked down again. She looked up at me. She looked down again. She goes, "Oh, fuck you. That's the funniest thing I've read in years." And we're in a library, and this little 15-year-old girl was like, "Fuck you, man." I was like, "Yep, that's when you know you got it right."
Well, what do you do for what makes this character so unique to you?
Well, she's the only one out there, as far as I know. There's no lead transgender female character running around anywhere. There's, like I said, there's characters from a variety of places on the LGBTQIA plus spectrum that are background characters or secondary characters or tertiary quadrennial characters. But Savarchik, she's the only one that's like, she's right out front. So you got her first and everybody else comes second. And
right.
She's the heroine of the book, and I like her a lot. She's a very personable character. I remember when I was working on it, when I was working with the kids, a lot of their personalities, little things that they said and did, and the mannerisms that they said and did, got incorporated into that character, and it makes her a lot more real.
Right.
Not just out of my head. It's like these are things I'm watching. The way they move their hands, the way they talk, the way they deal with things. And that was the other thing is like. I discovered transgender kids because they're so used to being bullied. They tend to be very linear on how they focus on things. They want to get somewhere. They're just going to get there. And so I had to make that part of this character because, people like you and me were like, hey, I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go do that. you got a million things on your plate. Not them. They're like, they have to focus on the thing in front of them. Otherwise life gets away from them. And so so I had to keep that in the book and keep that as part of the character and her growth. And so it was fun. It was a lot of fun putting it together. It was a good time.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So, out of all your writing skills, out of all of what you wrote, what was the best, the most coolest, funnest story you've made that you for to you?
Ooh, tough one. Because I come at stories different ways. Legends Parallel, I built that from the ground up, so it's all me, and that's a lot of fun. We're finally getting ready to do the 4th issue on it. The graphic novel's out, the trade paperback, if you will. That's a more official name for it. 100 pages of beautiful fun, so that's a good time. I don't know. It's a toss up for me between Legends Parallel and Hybrid Zero. Hybrid Zero, I'm creating a multiverse there. So there's actually a bunch of different titles. There's Hybrid Zero, there's Jungle Girl, there's Cassandra and the Changeling Sword, there's the Neutrinos, which is right now in the hands of the artist Cyril Brown. And so there's like 6 titles right now going on, and they're all part of the same universe. And someday, and I figure maybe by my 75th or 80th birthday, I'll be able to put them all in one story. But until then, there are all these different linear stories that happen at different times, and they're all part of the same thing. They all have the same themes. And that one is very challenging to do because, boy, if you're going to have a screw up on continuity, that's where you're going to have it. It's there's a lot of places there you can fuck up royally. So it's the only comic I keep. I actually keep a spreadsheet when I'm going. So this character's on this planet, so they can only interact with that planet. Because it just gets to be a lot. So that's the most challenging, and it's a lot of fun to do. I have a lot of fun doing it. Little Zoe, the lead character in the main book, Hybrid Zero, she's an absolute joy to write for because she's got a lot of facets to her personality and different things going on. Legends Parallel, I like a lot because whereas Hybrid Zero is more of a wild head trip, it's like drop acid, do some mushrooms, wash it down with Everclear, and then start looking at the universe. Legends Parallel is much more of a chance for me to do social commentary. And yeah, it's over the top and a bit excessive here and there, but it's a chance to point out the fallacies in our system. I'll give you a really good example. In book 2, the lead characters, who are all African-American, discover a second Earth. And on that Earth, all the white people live in ghettos. They're not allowed to have rights. They haven't even got the basic civil rights yet. They've never had a civil rights movement for white people. So they just live in the ghettos and do drugs and try and, just survive as best they can. And when you flip things like that, then I can start making some much more pointed commentaries. Because if I just write about, problems black people are having in America, people's eyes are going to gloss over it because it's like, oh yeah, I saw that on the news last night. Where's my chimichanga? But when I do it this way, when I flip things around and people aren't expecting it and they have to pay attention to it and they have to watch it, then I can pull out the sharp knives and go, as long as you're down here, let me put this in, start paying attention, damn it. And so I get to do a lot more pointed political commentary, a lot more pointed social commentary. The fact that the hero's mother is a lesbian, he doesn't know that yet, but we'll let him know eventually. But just some of the things that are going on in the story and some of the things that are going on in the universe at large around it. It allows me some room to make some points that I probably would not get a chance to do if I was writing another comic, if I was writing another title. And so it frees me up and lets me do some interesting things. It's an interesting book to write for because the guy who does the art for it, a guy named Leslie Taylor. He's out of Hungary. This is kind of funny. Brian Bigger Lion Daniel, the guy who owns Hadithi Sambaba and brought the comic to life and pays for all the bills. He hired Leslie to do the art because Leslie does these very 90s human form. It fit the theme of the story. It's got that there's kind of that cool superhero build, but he's also got that very clear anatomy to things. Everything looks very real. And So they hired him to do it, and then we ran into an interesting little problem. Leslie has never seen a black person in his life except a couple of times on TV. There are none in Hungary. I looked it up. It was like 0.001% of the population is black. And in his neighborhood, none are. There's nobody. Like 30,000 people, no one has a suntan. And so we ended up, it's got VIYP Productions out of Michigan, a lady named Sherry Vanilla Hardy. She had a modeling agency. She still has one. She still has a modeling agency. Lovely lady, a lot of fun to talk to. But anyway, so she had her models kind of cosplay as what these characters could look like. So they're all based, if you go to the legendsparallel.com website, you'll see all the original people. It's like, this person is that character. This person is that character. And they're all models. They're all doing stuff. And there's one lady, Feisty Nicole Brown, out of Memphis. She's really embraced it. She has fun. She's the character in the comic book. She's the character Ocean, the African goddess of love. And in the comic book, Ocean names herself after the African goddess of love, but she actually is a mistress of toxins. She poisons people to death. And she's a lot of fun. I like her. Anyway, but Feisty has really gotten into it. She's done cosplays as thing. She did a full nude cosplay covered in nothing but jello and wings with flames going off all around her to hide the naughty bits a little bit.
Damn.
Oh yeah, this girl throws herself into a role, and lady, she's not a girl anymore. She's an adult, but she is so much fun. Of all the silly things I've done in my comic book, writing and everything, getting to know her and just her. Sometimes she and her friends will be sitting in a bar and they're like, we should call Bill, and they'll call me up and we'll just shoot the shit for a while, and and then they'll go back to doing whatever it is they're doing because they're cool and hot and good looking, and they're in Memphis and I'm not. So but we have fun, and she really enjoys it. And every single thing we've done with Legends Parallel, she's made sure to promote it on her website, through her modeling agency, and through different events that she's doing. She's always out there waving our banner saying, this is something you guys need to check out. It's something there.
All right.
And, it's cool to have somebody in your corner that's like that, that's willing to say, okay, this is, I'm going to be your cheerleader today. And she's really good looking too. I don't know if you've seen her, but you can Google her online, Feisty Nicole Brown, and you're going to find her on Instagram, and you'll find her on Facebook, and you'll find her everywhere. Or Feisty the Model Brown, she sometimes calls herself. Oh, look, it's me in Legends Parallel. Yeah, the girl with the big boobs in the background there that you can see hanging over my head. That's Feisty. So there. And did we lose you, King? Hello. Hi, everybody. My name's Bill. That's a door behind me. It's got a sign on it to remind us how to do our body weight things. Do core this day, do lifts that day. I'm trying to become a better, healthy human being. Hold on. I think King's coming back. You really didn't want to hear about my weightlifting regimen anyway. There he is.
Sorry about that. I clicked the wrong button by accident. Tell us about that regimen. Sorry about that.
Nobody cares about my workout regimen. I'm just trying to lose some weight. I was injured last year, and a lot of things fell apart for me, and I put on a lot of weight. And I'm healthy enough to walk and do stuff again, and I'm starting to lose weight. And it's like, you start doing that old people thing where you get the little itty bitty weights and you start doing like this. But that's where I'm at. I'm 60 years old. I'm not pumping iron at the gym. I'm, not swimming on Olympic pools. It's just doing.
You're in good shape. You're in good shape, man. Yeah.
I am in shit shape. I have severe arthritis in both my knees. My hip is cracked up, and I shattered or fractured a part of my spine, and it's kind of like all compressed and oozy. So it's like, I'm actually in the worst shape of my life, but that's okay. Kim still wants to marry me. She said she's going to keep me as is. So no returns, no refunds. She's got me now. And
hey, and that's true love. That's true love.
Oh, that's true.
True love.
She's jumped through flaming hoops to be with me and to stay with me. And there's no way to deny that whatever you make of her sense of judgment, she did want to be here. She likes being here. So
hey, you gotta do what you gotta do, right? You know what I mean? But yeah, so tell us about Legends of Parallel. Where did that inspiration come from?
Well, okay, it's kind of funny. Originally, there's a guy who I'm not going to name. he hired myself, Dorfish, Gene, and Brian to put together this comic, and it had this whole thing. It was called Dimensional Rift. It was spelled wrong, and we were supposed to work on it. And so we were working on bits and pieces of it. And Dorfish has got her own company now called Spirit's Destiny. She's a wonderful human being. School teacher in Florida. She does Haitian-oriented things to help kids in Haiti have superheroes of their own and things like that. And she's loved Dorfish. No problems there. So anyways, we were getting into this. It occurred to us that we were putting together some work. And we had a bunch of stuff together, but nobody had any money. And then this guy was posting all the time on his Facebook page that he created this and he created that and he did this and he did that. And hell, Jesus didn't accomplish all the stuff this guy said he was doing. So, and I was like, well, wait a minute. I did that. I mean, this is literally something I created. And Dorfish is stepping back going, no. I created this other, not anything I did, but she had created this other stuff. And then Brian's like, wait a minute. Well, that's mine over there. And then we started talking to Vanilla and she goes, Sherry, she's like, no, these are my characters. I created these characters. They're, so you guys could work with them. And so it turned out this guy hadn't actually created anything. It was all just, he was just taking the work we'd all done, never paid anybody. And Brian said, you know what? I can't pay you everything we owe you, but I'll pay you a little bits and pieces to get this thing going. And we all said, okay. I mean, we'd already invested our time into it. So we got it going, and I went back and redid the story and started gutting it out. And it's going to be 12 issues when it gets done. It's going to take it a while to get there, but it'll be 12 issues. And what we decided to do is the tagline is for people who think quantum physics isn't violent or sexy enough. And that gives you a good overview to it because it's got the multiverse, it's got different things. But unlike a lot of stuff with the multiverse, there's not the good Bill McCormick and the bad Bill McCormick and the sexy Bill McCormick and the midget Bill McCormick. That's not it. It's like each Earth grows on its own and has its own culture and its own people. And it has nothing to do with our Earth. It's not a Bill-centric multiverse. So each Earth is completely different from the other ones, and some have humans on them and some don't. And the ones that have humans on them are the ones we care about, because right now doing a whole comic strip about talking dinosaurs might be fun, but it's just not what I want to do right now. And so by doing this, I'm able to create these other Earths and then make social commentary. Like, these people are more involved in the technological stuff now. How would a planet be if they're more influenced by technology or science? How would a planet be if it was more influenced by agrarian or planting, farming life, more into nature? How would a planet be, so on and so forth. And I could, obviously I'm doing broad scope kind of things like Star Trek, where it's like, this planet does this. I mean, you and I both know in the real world, I can't even get 2 fucking towns to do the same thing here in, outside Chicago. But to give it a broad view and give it some broad strokes, and then it starts allowing me to make some social commentary. It starts allowing me to make some political commentaries. It starts allowing me to do some broad stroke stuff to get people into stuff and then paint down into the details. Because you understand it. It's like, here's this big thing. I can show you this big shiny thing. While you're looking at that, I'm going to start putting some etching underneath it. So now you got to follow it all the way down to make sense of it all. And Legends Parallels really give me a chance as a writer to do some stuff that I, never really got a chance to do before. And, with the help of Brian and Dorfish and with Sherry on there. And then Leslie, I should also mention that Leslie doesn't speak a lot of English. So when we were going back and forth doing notes on how we wanted things to look and how characters would look, we ended up creating our own little personal language of some Hungarian verbs that I could find, some English verbs that he understood, and emojis like beer glasses clinking. That meant we succeeded. Beer glass laid down. That meant that failed. We wanted something to the left. We wanted something to the right. We did it a lot. We did the entire first issue of the book using nothing but emojis to communicate. But it got done. And Leslie loves it, and his people love it. And he's got it's out in Hungary now. It's out in Hungary now. And we're looking, now that we're getting more episodes in, and we've got the trade paperback in, and we've got the original 3 issues in. Now we're looking to license it and do some things overseas. There's some interest actually in releasing it in Haiti. I have no idea how that's going to go over, but we'll talk to some people about it. France is a good place for us, and I think we're going to do well there. We already have a fan club in England, and which includes some of the more unusual people I've seen on the planet who like a comic book, but there they are. And so we've got that. And one of my favorite things is that before the comic book came out in England, we opened up a store over there because some people wanted T-shirts and stuff. They wanted to support us. And so I opened up a store with a spreadshirt company in England that sells nothing but, basically Legends Parallel gears, sells all that stuff. And it had been open about a week, and people from Germany were buying one of the characters' face masks because they could buy the face mask with the characters on. Couldn't get the book. They had no idea what any of it meant, but they paid $20 for that damn face mask, and God bless them, because every penny counts when it's coming into this house. That's how I look at things. It was fun. It was fun. But,
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, okay, out of all the characters in Legends of Parallel, what what's one of the characters that reminds you of you?
Reminds me of me?
Yeah, that is really close to you, close to your heart, that really relates, that you really relate to.
I'd have to say, and the character's not fleshed out yet. To me it is, because I've written all the stories, but to people reading along at home, the character's a minor character at the moment. But I'd have to say Best, B-E-S. He's Ocean's partner, and he becomes it's a character that I was able to make him a little smarter than you might think he is. Make him a little more powerful than you might think he is. Kind of like an underdog coming up kind of thing. I really related to him when I was creating a character, and as the stories go on, he becomes more integral into it. And I have a habit of doing that in my novels, in my trilogy, The Brittle Riders. I have this character Slant that in book 1 is the comic relief, and by book 3 he's one of the most meaningful characters in the book, and powerful character. And so I like bringing characters up like that, so it isn't like at the beginning when you say, all right, here's the hero, and there's the hero, and there's the hero again, and oh, look, it's the hero. It's not all the same. I like weaving them in and out in the hierarchy. In Legends Parallel, Tom Hill, who's Siafu, the superhero, he's always going to be Tom Hill, Siafu, the superhero. The stories are going to revolve around him, because otherwise this whole thing don't make any sense. But that doesn't mean I can't make some other characters interesting, and I bring them in, introduce them to people, take them back a little bit, bring somebody else in, bring them back, and go back and forth, and then blend them together. And it gives me a way to build the story up without being stuck with the over and over the same thing over and over. And I'm friends with a guy who actually works on Superman, and he said one of the things that they ran into in the 70s and 80s is that they were basically rewriting the same story every week. Because here's the Superman, here's his powers, there's Lois Lane, there's Jimmy Olsen. Now what do? We got Superman, we got Lois Lane, we got Jimmy Olsen. Great. Now what do? We got Superman, it was like they were in this dead loop. So, like in the 80s, they're like, death of Superman. All right, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. They were just making shit up, but they just had to break that cycle for writers and creative team, because, just like one of the things that kills me about the TV periodicals, like Supernaturals, I don't know if you ever saw it, but it's basically every episode is exactly the same. It's just a different monster. It's like, okay, this week's monster is, and every now and then they go nuts and go, and this week we're going to kill God. Yeah, have fun. But it just gets so silly that you just can't follow along anymore. And that's where they were at with Superman. So they needed to bust it up and to make, on the one hand, make him more human, or at least make him more relatable. And because at one point, Superman actually had more powers than a god. He was just overpowered. They added too many things to the chassis there. And that's one thing I try and avoid, like with Legends Parallel, there's a much more integrated dynamic between the main characters and the secondary characters. And so they're all kind of important. And Tom Hill's mom, Sage, she used to be a superhero, and she's older now. She's in her 50s, coming up on 60. It's like, and as she points out in one scene, she's covered in blood. Her assistant / fiance / girlfriend / lover is standing in there, with a tray full of gauze and alcohol, and she's trying to stitch her up, and like Bruce Wayne and Alfred. Alfred's just in there sewing the son of a bitch up one more time, and she's doing this, and she finally looks at her and she goes, "I'm too old for this. I'm too fucking old for this. I just have to let it go. I cannot be the one out there every week doing this. I cannot be that person. I am too old. No matter how cool the super suit is, no matter how much protection I have, I'm too old." And so that, you get that kind of dynamic. And and that's the other thing is I try and write, and especially in Legends Parallel, I don't want every character to be in their prime of health. It's like when you turn on, for example, Legends of Tomorrow, everybody in there is in stunning physical shape. Everybody in there is got all these amazing abilities, and it's like, hey, look, it's a team of ninjas, ninja team, and it's a fun show. I enjoy it. Don't get me wrong, but there's very little real world. Like you got the one older guy and you got the one older woman, and they reference them from time to time, but it's like you don't get any people who've experienced life or have done anything with life. You don't have any really young people. You're not bringing in kids. You're not raising them. You're just kind of, it's all this middle ground where everybody sits, this middle ground. So with like Legends Parallel, and especially with Hybrid Zero, they're all over the place. I've got people from all sorts of different backgrounds and different age groups, and because you're trying to tell different stories. I don't want it to be like the Superman death loop that my friend calls it. That's what I don't want. I don't want it to be the same story in and out every week. I want it to be the same theme, because otherwise, why pay attention to the damn story? Pay attention to the thing. I want the themes to be the same, but you can weave in and out. You can bring different people in, do different things, introduce different characters, bring them back, and this old character is bringing in this point of view of wisdom, or you hope, or in some cases just continuing folly. Okay, well, you can learn from that too. Or a young character is bringing in all this youthful enthusiasm, and you kind of need to go, all right, we need to put some brakes on that, or you're going to get all of us killed. And you just kind of, it gives you some chances to add in those dynamics. And Legends Parallel and Hybrid Zero, though they're different books, radically different series, they each allow me different ways to do that, to bring different things to the fore, and to explore those kind of things and see what I can do and what I can't do with them. And it's pretty fun. I mean, I've got the book Neutrinos is coming out this year on the Hybrid Zero multiverse, and it's the first rock opera you can't hear because it's all silent. It's all on paper, and to come up with a way to do that, to make that work, and I had to go back and forth a few times. And I ran it by some beta readers, and they were like, "You can almost hear the music." I went, "That's it. That's what I want. I want you to hear the music because it's going to get nuts in there." Because the whole Hybrid Zero, there in one multiverse, the Earth is actually a turtle. It's like the old Hindu myth with Earth is on the back of a turtle. We actually made that come alive. So we've got that Earth, and then we've got our Earth that and then we've got another Earth that used to be Earth, but it got blown up, and they just put all the rocks back together and turned it into an amusement park with naked people. And it's just, everything's very different. So it's, and again, each one allows me to look at things differently. It allows me to come at things from a different point of view, a different perspective, present things in a different way to the audience at home. And hopefully they can so far they've rolled along and they've enjoyed it, and we've all had a good time, and see if we can keep that going.
Awesome. Damn. So tell us about Hybrid Zero.
That was started by a guy named Cyril Brown, and he started it a decade ago. And I was actually a fan of the comic. I enjoyed it. He was doing these online versions of the comic and everything. And he was looking to fix his story, and he was having trouble doing it. And he and I ended up, we're really good friends now, but at the time we were kind of circling each other because we didn't know. And, we each have our issues. I mean, I suffer from depression, so I'm constantly having to battle that and talking to doctors about that. And he suffers from schizophrenia. So he actually, like the old joke, he hears voices in his head. He hears them, and they tell him what to do. And it's like, you need to get past that to get to some sort of useful information, because he has this beautiful art. His art is incredible. But he hears the voice in his head, but that doesn't mean it's on the paper. So the stories were skipping a lot. It's like he knew why they went from point A to point B. No one else did. It was a secret all in Cyril world. And so trying to unpack that, I started writing it, and he fell in love with it. And then he started drawing the additional scenes to make it all start put together. And then one thing led to another, and we ended up getting picked up by Nerd and Nadix, and they started distributing it into stores in the Southwest, excuse me. And my favorite is Hybrid Zero and Legends Parallel both have their fair share of nudity in it. And we did at best. The stores that would buy our stuff over and over again tended to be near evangelical churches. So these people get in there and they pray for 5 or 6 hours. Then they had to get out and get their cartoon porn with an ice cream cone, because we actually literally were being sold in an ice cream shop in Houston. So you go in, you get your sprinkles, you get your ice cream cone, get your Legends Parallel, get your Hybrid Zero, and go home and do whatever the hell it is you do when you do that. I don't want to think about that. But it got the story out, and we started doing really well. Unfortunately, Nerdonatics, when the pandemic hit, they couldn't get a payday loan thing, not payday loan, but a payroll loan that a lot of other businesses got. And actually, the churches around him all got the payroll loans. He didn't. So the people who don't pay into our taxes got the freaking loans. And KJ and all the people in Nerdonatics, they pay taxes. Everybody over there was paying their taxes, and they couldn't get the damn loan. So he had a closed shop. He tried opening it up again and just couldn't put it together. The financing just wasn't coming together. So, finally, sometimes it's better just cut loose. And it's a shame because he was a good distributor. He was a good guy. He got us a really good deal on printing key costs and stuff. Working with him, if I ever had a question, I could leave him a message. He'd be back to me within 24 hours. That's all you can ask. I mean, I don't need the guy to hold my hand, but I do want some response if I have any concerns or an issue. And he was always really good about that, and the team was. And we've been kind of rebuilding our distribution platform back then because I never wanted to be a distributor, and Brian didn't want to be a distributor, and Cyril doesn't want to be a distributor. But we got to get these books out. We can't just keep them in my living room. And so we're making it up as we go along, but it's getting done. There you go.
You got to do.
Yep.
So, tell us about the character called Best. Where did you go with? Where in the future? Where do you see yourself going with the Best character?
Well, Best is going to become a very integral part of the Legends Parallel storyline, and he's going to become a much more forceful, take charge, dynamic character. Right now, he's Ocean's assistant, and what seems like his assistant. But even as in book 3, you see him having dinner with Ocean. They're in suits, and there's a power play there. He doesn't want to do this anymore. He wants to go do something else. And she's like, "Hey, man, we still owe these other mobs favors. We got to finish this up, or they're going to hunt us down all over the country." And he's kind of like, I don't give a fuck. Let them hunt us down. We're smarter than they are. We're stronger than they are. We have better weapons than they do. We'll fuck them all up. And she's like, "Yeah, but I don't want to start an international war." And he's like, "I don't care. Because I'm tired of working for other people. I'm tired of being fucked around by other people." And he's got some very valid points. And that's the beginning of a dynamic that's going to play out in the next few episodes. Excuse me.
Awesome. That sounds like an actual great story.
I hope so.
How much do it cost?
What cost?
Legends of Parallel.
Oh, it's well, we just had to raise our prices because the printing prices went up, but it's $7.99 for the single issues, and it's $20 for the 100-page graphic novel. And we're looking. I'm probably going to have to raise the price of the graphic novel. We've been eating it a little bit because we want people to have it and get it out. And also, it's got a photo shoot in there by Feisty Nicole Brown, where she's pretty much as close to naked as we're going to get without her actually being naked. So, supporting the ocean thing and a bunch of fun stuff in there. But, I mean, right now we're just going through the supply chain shortage like everybody else does. A friend of mine's got an indie comic book company, and he pulled his stuff out of stores because he could no longer, stores won't pay more than like $2.50 for a comic. And he's like, it's costing me $2.65 to print it, so I'm losing 15 cents every time they order one. And that's where we were at. We also pulled our stuff out of stores unless they're willing to work like on a consignment where they take 10% or 15% commission or something like that. And those stores will work with, but otherwise it's too cost prohibitive. I figured it out. I would have to charge for a single issue of Legends Parallel or a single issue of Hybrid Zero. We would have to charge around $9 a crack to get it into stores because there's just no other way to do it, And you need some wiggle room to work with. You need some, because if something gets returned, you're on the hook for that. It isn't like we just send them out, they send us money, and we're done. If it sits on their shelf for 60 days, they're just going to put them back in your pocket. So you got to be able to pay them back. And so you need a buffer. And the old system, We paid $1.45 to print the comic. Comic book store paid $2.50, so we make $1 a comic. But that was our big risk. It was $1, so we were okay with that. But now with the supply chain stuff, we're spending like $2.55, $2.60, $2.75 to print one, but the stores are still only paying $2.50 because they're trying to keep their prices around $5. I'm like, well, that's great. I'm glad you're keeping your price low for Skippy and Billy, who come in there with their ice cream cones on stand there and put their money on the counter for you, and that's great. That's cool. I'm glad you're doing that, but you're killing everybody else. Warner Brothers and Marvel, they can eat it. They can, because they're making movie money. They're making video game money. They can use the comic books as a loss leader and still make tons of money. It isn't like, these movies are making $1 billion. Even at the end of the day, after everybody else gets paid, I got news for you. There's still maybe $50 million left over that they can just go, our money, or more than that, And so they've got some room to move there. Independents, we don't. And so right now, it's a lot of juggling out there. And I'm finding it with the independent novels, independent arts are really taking a hit with the supply chain stuff right now. And hopefully that'll ease up later this year. I've heard rumors that a couple of companies think that they're going to be back to full strength by September, October. That would be wonderful. That would allow me to get my prices down, start talking to stores again, do stuff again. But right now, if you want to buy my stuff right now, you pretty much have to buy it off my website or buy it off the comic books website, hyperdzero.com, legendsparallel.com, or my site, billmcsci-fi.com. And we'll ship it to you because it's actually cheaper for me to print it, put it in my living room, and when you order it, I slap it in an envelope and ship it to you, and you get it in a few days, and everybody's happy. And that's not how I want to live my life because I don't want to be a shipping company. It's not like the Franklin Mint here. I have a life to live, but we're doing what we can with what we got and trying to make it work.
Hey, I've been noticing over the years, you can't sell your books for a very low price anymore because you don't make profit. You don't make any profit like that.
No, you can't. But on the flip side, if I was charging $10 a crack for Legends Parallel, no one's going to pay it. They may think I'm the nicest guy on the planet, but they're just not going to buy that. So it's like I'm trying to dance on this line where it's like I'm pricing it so people will still want to give me money. But when they give me money, I still want some. I need to be able to, in case of Legends Parallel, I got to be able to pay Leslie. Brian's got to get his cut. I mean, it's his fucking company. He's the one who put up the money. He needs to make his money back. I'd like to have some for myself too. I'm getting married. Having things like food in the fridge is an exciting moment. Roof over the head, everybody needs to eat, and it's really weird out there. I had this guy telling me, he's like, well, if you can bring like 100 copies of your comic to my convention, I'll let you sell them there. And I'm like, okay. You're going to have like 300 people there. They're not all going to buy my stuff, and it's probably going to cost me $500 to $1,000 to go there, to be in a hotel for 3-4 days, to eat, do what I need to do. There's no incentive there. And I'm seeing more and more of that starting to pop up. People are like, I'm doing this right now. And I'm like, yeah, you're losing money up the ass. I saw this one lady. So this one lady, she was all excited. She spent 3 days at a convention. She sold all 5 copies that she brought with her. And I'm like, yay for you, but it's $150 or $200 a day for the table. Sometimes more, sometimes less, but just let's call it $150 a day for a table. So there's $300, $450. Hotel, let's call it $100 a night. Because if you're standing at some cheap place that smells like ammonia, there's another $300. So I'm at $750, and I haven't even walked out the door yet. Forget about putting food on my, on a plate or anything like that. And it's just people are pricing themselves out, but there's no room for the indie guy like me to make money doing a lot of stuff that I used to love doing. I love conventions, don't get me wrong. But if those prices are going to stay the same and there's no room for profit or I got to really up my retail cost, which like we just discussed, nobody's going to pay that for that. Or I just have to eat it and stay at home and sell it over the internet. And that's what I've been doing. And that's what a lot of people have been doing. And I know one guy, he has a mailing list of about 20,000 people. He's doing much better off than I am. And he's kind of got it down now. It's like once a month he's trying to do something to keep their attention just just because, just to keep things going out the door. And that's kind of where I'm at, except I can't afford to put out a new comic every month. This is not Marvel or DC. I don't have like 5-10 grand laying around every 3 weeks to put into a new comic. So, but we're doing the best we can. We're getting stuff out there. People are buying the stuff. They're talking about the stuff. This guy named Zach Weber in England, he has us. Every time I put something out, he'll put it on his TV show and talk about it because he just has fallen in love with what we do. And slowly but surely, we're building up our little empires brick by brick.
Awesome, man. So I always wanted to ask you, what were your 5 favorite artists and 5 favorite characters that you've grown to love?
I'm not going to name artists because I know a bunch of them, and this is not one of those moments. It would feel weird singling someone out when another guy. That just gets weird to me. Because
very upsetting.
as I've been doing this, people have reached out to me and they've been cool to me and helped me out. And some people I might consider my favorite, but it's because they've been so cool to me. They've been right there behind me trying to shove my stuff out to the world at large. Doesn't make them a better artist or a worse artist, but to me they would rank for that. And then top 5 list, top 10 list of stuff. Who's your favorite artist? Doesn't do much for me. Who's my favorite characters? I got to start out with Static Shock. I think that's a character that's just been horribly left behind. There's so much that character can do, and that I want to see somebody do more with it, and they just haven't. The new Batwoman, I love a lot. I think they did a great job reimagining that character, and I want to see more of that character. The old Green Arrow from the 70s when he was dealing with drug addiction and Speedy and all that stuff. There was some really hard-hitting stuff there, and they kind of gotten away from that, and they're trying to get back in the comic book, especially to that. I'd love to see them do more with that because Green Arrow is one of those great characters where, yeah, he's Bruce Wayne because he has a lot of money, but unlike Bruce Wayne, he actually deals with the streets. It isn't just him imposing justice. It's him trying to find justice, and I think that's a very interesting dynamic. In the wonderful world of Marvel, obviously you got to go with Black Panther. T'Challa has just been an incredible character the entire run of it since the 70s. I don't know what they're going to do with the character now because they're saying they're going to tie the comic books into the movies, which means, well, Chadwick Boseman is dead. So I don't know where they're going to go with T'Challa. They've done different things with the Black Panther character in the past with Shuri and different people taking over the mantle. But now it seems like it's going to be one of those permanent mantle changes. So we'll see what they do there. That'll be fun. Be interesting, if nothing else. Who else do I like? Who else do I like a lot? Gosh, there's so many. Rick Ty, the Thrill King. That's some interdimensional motorcycles, hot women with guns and baseball bats built with bombs in them. I mean, he's just like, you think it, he's got it. It somehow it'll involve mice later. I don't know why. Just some great stuff. Rick Ty, looking for him online. You'll find him pretty much everywhere. And there's another lady I like a lot. Not really a traditional comic book artist, lady named Barbara Mendez. She took the entire Old Testament and reimagined it as a female-centric or matriarchal story from a woman's point of view down. And she was the first woman ever to have her own comic book line in America or in the world. She was the first one to actually get her own contract, to have her own thing, create her own characters, everything. It's all her. She has an art gallery and a museum in San Francisco now that's wildly popular. Yeah, I love her stuff. And Willie Mendez, she goes by, but Barbara is her real name, and she's just some incredible stuff. It's so detailed, so richly animated. Like you can't just look at it like you look at a comic book and go, "Ooh, there's a page. Ooh, there's a page. Ooh, look, that's exciting." It's not like that. You have to read each panel. If she draws a 24-page comic, you can plan on spending 48, 50 minutes just looking at the panels, just looking at the art, just trying to dive through it. It's some really cool stuff, and it's really worth going into.
Awesome. So if you was the artist of any of these books out, who would be, but which books would you want to write for?
Well, if I was the artist, you probably wouldn't want me to do that because
No, no.
I could fuck up a stick figure. I can't
Which
draw.
I know I've said that backwards. Out of all these books, which books, out of all these comics out, which comics would you want to write for? I mean,
I actually pitched DC on a version of Black Canary that immediately got shot back into my face. Um, but Black Canary is one I really wanted to take a whack at. I also I really would like to take some of the more minor characters that are wandering around. Like Blue Beetle is finally getting his due over on DC and getting his own show and stuff like that. I would like to take some of the smaller characters and be able to build out the world around them and to build out their work, because a lot of them are just kind of referenced. And that's why I wanted Black Canary, because she's cool and she had the relationship with Green Arrow, and she didn't have the relationship with Green Arrow, and blah blah blah. But as a character, as a generational character, because her thing is a hereditary thing, hereditary skill that's passed down. That would be something very cool to get into, and maybe 3 generations down, 4 generations down. In my case, I'd had it. She and another superhero had a child together, and this child had kind of a mixed powers, and that's where I started with DC. And like I said, they kicked that right back. It was like, no, thank you. I was like, if they'd said no any faster, you would have thought it was 3 a.m. in a bar and you were trying to get laid. They said no quick, but whatever. So I'm sitting. There's nothing really I can do with what I wrote, because I'm not going to create a new character like Black. There's no way to do it and have it not be a ripoff of what they've done. So I just left it to the side. But something like that. One of the smaller characters. I like this. I like the smaller characters because they're a lot of fun to create. I have a novel out now called Splice, and that's based on a comic book series called Hip Technology by Watchdog Entertainment. And the reason that I did Splice is when you go through all the comic books, there's this one guy named Splice who's got 2 or 3 frames at most in every comic. He's just kind of a MacGuffin. He's just there. And I was like, yeah, but this guy's interesting. I want to know how the fuck he got there, what he did. And when we went back and forth, I wanted to write a comic book based on it. And they said no, and they ended up hiring me to write a movie based on it, which I did. And then we circled back around it, and I wanted to do the comic book anyway. And they said no, so I wrote a novel, and it got voted the best novel of 2020, best science fiction novel of 2020 on the Critters Readers Poll, which that's cool because that means people who actually read the book voted for the book. So, if you're gonna catch some love, catch it from people who actually put their nickels where their mouth is. So we've got that going for us. But again, that's a smaller character and something I could do with a smaller character, and I really enjoyed doing that. And I would love to get my hands on some of the smaller characters. Give me the throwaway characters. I'll turn them into something you won't see coming. It'll be fun. It'll be great.
Awesome. So, okay, out of all the villains that what was the darkest villain you ever wrote about?
Darkest villain I ever wrote about?
Yeah.
I'm going to have to say it's Legends Parallel villain, Miss Vin. She's beautiful and she's fun, but she's quite capable of like writing off an entire planet and just letting everybody die if they get in her way. She is one of the coldest, most narcissistic, evil characters I've ever written. And she's also to make that work, though, she's also really pleasant. She's very nice when she talks to you. She's just going to kill you. I think she's probably the dark she's not dark like moo ha 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 dark. She's dark like, oh, I'm sorry I killed your family, but I got a dinner reservation now. She just doesn't care about any fucking buddy. And it's a very dark thread running through her. So yeah, I like that. It would have to be her.
Oh man. Okay, so with the current indies circuit going on, where do you see the indie circuit going?
I see it growing. I see it growing exponentially, actually. And I'm I'm in that wave of things happening. A friend of mine who has worked on Iron Man and Captain Marvel and different things like that, he has started his own indie stuff to take advantage of what's happening in the indie community. Because it used to be, if you were going to be an indie, you had to be hugely funded, and it was very, people were kicking out these comics and nobody was paying any attention. But now with the digital age going on, you can at least get your foot in the door. Now, is everybody going to make bank on this? No, but if you can get people to pay attention to the front end of it, and if you can get people to pay attention to your website, get them to pay attention to a few panels of the comic, get them to pay attention. If you can get them in, they're sticking around, they're staying. And I'm your biggest testimony to that, because getting people to pay attention to Legends Parallel, difficult. Once they started paying attention, they were evangelical. They were telling their friends about it, telling their friends about it, telling their friends about it, so on and so forth. The Hybrid Zero, same thing. Once we started writing it, we were able to concentrate more on the story as opposed to the just outre art. Once we had people, we could get people to focus on what we were doing. Then it started growing, and I'm starting to see more of that. I'm starting to see artists, and Rick Ty, who I mentioned, I like a lot. He's really gotten in the habit now of getting people to, if you can get people to pay attention to the front, get them in the damn door. Maybe it's, part of it's P.T. Barnum. Get the motherfuckers in. We'll deal with them later. The egress is in the back. If you can get people in, especially in the indie community, people tend to be more, as I said, evangelical about it. Nobody cares, everybody cares about Batman. It's a common character, but I'm finding that people are looking for other Dark Knights. They're looking for other characters that are saving the city, because some of this stuff it's not that it's played out. I mean, Batman's going to make money from now until my great-grandchildren come home, and I don't even have any kids to get it started with. Superman, the same thing. Wonder Woman, your bigger characters, Iron Man, Black Panther, Captain Marvel, whichever version of that you want to pick. Those are going to be money makers for decades and years, and they're going to be there. But the underlying characters, you can't just have 5 or 6 and call it a day. So indies are starting to bring these real other characters to life, and whether it's something from Spawn or something from Neil Gaiman, God knows what's coming out of his mind next week. But you're starting to see these different things, and you're starting to see more diversity. You're starting to see more representation, and especially I'm seeing more African-American Comic-Cons. I'm a member, actually, of the Motor City Black Age of Comics. And you might tell I'm, first of all, from Chicago, not Detroit. Second of all, I'm not black. But I've been welcomed there because I write about African-American characters. And the company I work with is owned by an African-American gentleman, Brian. And but you're starting to see more of this diversity. You're starting to see this, hey, we've got an Asian thing. Christy Shin, the artist out of Los Angeles, and her Demon Bitch series has become a very integral voice for the Asian community. And you're starting to see more of that. People are saying, I'm going to speak for my community, and I'm building it up. And then the big comic book companies, whether from Image all the way up to Marvel, DC, they really can't focus like that. They can't focus on something. But these indies, they can. And now they're starting to build on it. And now you're starting to see they're getting people in the door to take a look at what they have. There's an entire line of Native American comics built on the entire mythos of the Navajo and Cherokee nations and the Lakota nations. And that's all brand new to everybody. Nobody outside of the nations knows it. Nobody outside of the first people knows about it, but now they're building on that and expounding upon that. And it's fascinating stuff to read, and gives you a whole new way of looking at things. And it's also inspired some hip hop artists, which not what I saw coming, but there you are. Anyway, but people are able to post on what they want, post on, they're able to focus a little bit more. I don't have to write a superhero that saves the planet. Not everything has to be fucking save the planet. I got a guy who's trying to save Chicago and maybe, keep his family safe. That's small. In superhero standards, that's small, but it gives me a chance to write some real stories. I can get into the drug addictions on the streets. I can get into the mothers and sisters of mercy, as they were, not the goth man from England, but the actual Catholic charities group, or Catholic nuns. I can get into how they serve the community. I can get into some very detailed stuff. And because of that, I can create some richer stories, these richer tapestries for people to get into. And, everyone I've named, that's what they're doing. They're finding these focus things, and they're building on that, and they're building up from that. And it's some fascinating stuff that's coming out. But yeah, the indie world in general, now that it's finally found its niche and starting to find its its footing, it's going to be different. We're not really pushing to stores like it used to be. Everything had to go to stores. Now,
Right.
who gives a shit because it can't afford it. So you're thinking different ways. You're thinking outside the box. I've seen subscription comics, and I'm actually thinking about maybe doing that. Where if I had some more content, start once every 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever, ship somebody some more content. So here's your first 5 pages of Legend Parallel. Here's your second 5 pages, and so on and so forth, and keep them interested in it that way. We're all thinking outside the box. We're all coming up with stuff. Some of it's going to work, some of it's not. But I think at the end of we're all trading ideas. What doesn't work for me might work for somebody else. But then they can come back to me and go, and the reason I got it to work is because of this or that. And I've done that too. I've helped some people like, hey, this worked for me, and the reason it doesn't work for you is because you're doing it wrong. Here's how to do it and make it work. And we're trading these ideas, and they're outside the mainstream community. But they give us a chance to get our foot in the door. Because if you went into Marvel and said, all right, I need you guys to focus entirely on an Asian American angry lesbian demon from hell, and they'd go, no. Thank you for cluttering up our office, but security will see you out now. But Christy Shin can go, not only am I going to show you that, I'm going to show you this whole world that builds around this chick. And it's just going to be something you've never seen before. And it'll involve basketballs. Why does it involve basketballs? Fuck you, it involves basketballs. And it's an amazing show. I love Demon Bitch. Absolutely love it. If I wasn't marrying Kim, I might have the hots for Demon Bitch. She's something.
Don't let her hear that.
Yeah. She's used to me by this point. And if I start dating cartoon characters, well, then I'm fucked anyway. So,
Man, I miss you, man. Yo, oh, man, shit. We got, sorry. I was thinking about that, what you just said. So, okay. From your perspective and from your heart, for the people that's coming into the industry from other sects of entertainment, what kind of advice would you give them? I'm gonna give you 60 seconds to give to them and to promote your comic book as well as all your books as well. 60 seconds.
My advice to you is pick something and stick with it. I see too many creators come in and they're like, they go from everything from Little House on the Prairie to Superman on meth. Pick something, develop it, stick with it. And, to pimp my comics, you know what? I'll make it simple. Go to BillMcSci-Fi.com. I have an entire page devoted to the comics I've done. I'm in anthologies, including an award-winning Edgar Allan Poe anthology that Brian and I did where we took an Edgar Allan Poe story and turned it inside out and turned it into this like robot elegy from hell. So there's that. But go to BillMcSci-Fi.com, click on comics, and have yourself a merry old Christmas. But yeah, pick something. Whatever it is you're going to pick something and stick with it. I get so tired. And when I say stick with it, I don't mean just keep hashing the same idea over and over like it's a Superman death loop, but build on it. Say, this is my dude, or this is my dudine, because I know the correct female pronunciation of dude is dudine. And start developing that. What is their world like? How do they interact? Where do they get their food? Where do they get their groceries? Where do they get their laundry done? How do they live in their world? Build on that. Develop that. They don't need to save the world. That's why I think Spider-Man is so popular. He saves Brooklyn. That's what he wants to do. He's friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, not your friendly globe-trotting superhero, which I think the movies are starting to get off. He's in Germany. He's doing this. He's doing that. Like, fuck that. Everybody just wants to see Spider-Man be Spider-Man, and that's where he works. And so think like Spider-Man. Think small. Think your neighborhood. Think where you're building it. Think where you're developing it, and build from that. I think you'll have success. And there, my 60 seconds are up.
Well, you just gave me an idea there, man.
Well, good. Then my work here is accomplished.
Well, I mean, see, because I've always been a fan of Legends of Parallel. I've watched you for years, man, and I've seen the lady from Guardians of the Galaxy. She was the green lady from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, Gamora. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw her pick up your book, I saw
Oh
the
no,
picture of it.
no, you're no, not her. That was Rosario Dawson is actually a fan of.
Oh yeah, yeah, Lazario Dawson.
Yeah,
You
and
still keep
she
in touch with her?
well, no, she doesn't send me Christmas cards or anything, but she does have the entire Legends Parallel collection now, and she also got some of the hybrid zeros. But yeah, she's got all the Legends Parallel, including the graphic novel. So, God bless Rosario Dawson.
That ought to let you know, man. You never know who's watching you. You never know who's going to pick up your stuff, and that's why I said you gotta watch the in your face show. You never know who's watching. You never know who's going to buy your shit. Just put it out there, and that's me speaking to myself. And just get it out there and just do what you got to do. And if it fails, it fails. If it goes, it goes. Just do what you got to do. Believe in
Like
yourself.
like Jenna Bush, the television announcer who used to work with Stan Lee for 20 years, says, and I always love this. She goes, "You don't win any races if you don't start."
Damn.
So,
Scared
and she
money don't
runs,
make money.
yeah, she runs marathons, so she knows where she speaks from. But and seriously, you can't accomplish your goal if you don't start. If you just sit at home bitching about it, I mean, it's easy to go, fuck this, it's too hard, it's too much work. Fuck it, write it, do it. I'm in the middle of shit right now. I just met a guy 3 weeks ago. He's a director who's been nominated for multiple Oscars. He's doing all this incredible stuff. He stepped out of his life and said, "I like what you're doing. Now I'm going to help you." He didn't know me shit. He doesn't, he's not my new best friend or anything, but he liked what I did and he found it entertaining and he sees value in it. And here we go. That rodeo has taken off and we'll see what happens. But I could sit here and go, "Oh, I can't, I'm not ready to work with someone like I'm not ready to fuck that. I'm out." I'll ask questions. I'm going to have a million questions, but God damn it, I am going for it. I'm not going to sit at home and just let it all keep passing me by. I'm going out there, grabbing the brass ring. Whatever it takes, that's what I'm doing.
You always got that sweet something to say. Always.
Cool. I also got tacos in the kitchen, so I want to go eat those.
Alrighty, man. All right, so I'm going to end the show right now.
Cool.
Thank
I'm going to
y'all.
go eat tacos.
Thank you guys for tuning into the show. This is my main man, Bill McCormick, man. Pick up his shit, pick up his books, man. It's gonna be awesome. He's wrote Jarhead. He's wrote the first issue of Jarhead. It's awesome, man. It's gonna go down. I loved it. Everybody loves it. We all love you, Bill. And we know you're gonna succeed, man. I know you're gonna succeed.
Thank you. I
Thank you,
appreciate
bro.
that.
Thank
No
you for
problem.
coming on the show.
My pleasure. You have yourself a great day.
You too. And this is the In Your Face show, and we out. Peace.